LGBT community. Take me to your leader. Come on. But I also have been worried for a long time by the extraordinary intolerance of elements of the so-called gay community, which I say so-called because there is no such thing. It's a basis for madness. When people say the gay community, who are you talking about? It's like women think this. Oh, really? 50% of the species all agree on something. Blacks say this. Really? Mm. Let me put it another way. If somebody said, I don't know, I just love the working class. Who? Yeah. I just love the middle class. Who? I love the upper class. Who are you talking about? Why would we be taking the individualism out of individuals and lumping them in these demonstrably incoherent bodies that don't even exist? They don't even exist. The LGBT community predict exactly who is going to latch onto the latest claim. When, for instance, the big bearded man with male genitalia wins the women's weightlifting competition, you can predict with 100% accuracy who is going to say, yeah, what's the problem with that? And the people who are going to say, I'm not sure Clive, the big weightlifter, should be winning the women's category. You can predict it. And the people who say, why have you got a problem with that, bigot, are always the same people who believed in the past that our societies needed to be pulled apart in another fashion. And now they'd like to do it in this fashion. No interest across Africa in paying reparations for selling their brother and sister Africans into slavery or for working them to the bone to the present day. There is slavery across Africa today. In fact, there are more slaves in the world today than there were at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. So some of us are simply a bit bored of hearing people ripping at closed wounds and then crying about their hurt or their presumed hurt. Because everybody could do this. 1 million Europeans were stolen by North Africans over the course of decades of the North African Barbary pirate slave trade. Where would you end if you did that? The answer is you couldn't end, because nobody is alive who has actually suffered the hurt, and nobody is alive who did the wrong. And I'd make one other point, if I may. It's always the countries that people want to come to who are put through this struggle session. Britain, like America and France, are the most desired destinations for migrants worldwide. I see no interest. It's not enough that these people choose not to eat their chicken nuggets at this place. You mustn't either. And they mustn't serve chicken nuggets, and they must close. Well, even if the family who run Chick-fil-A are the most opposed to gay marriage ever, I still think if some people want to eat their chicken nuggets, they should have the damn right to do so. But that instinct is not there in the social justice warriors of our time. It's not just that they don't want the thing. They don't want you to do the thing either, or to have the right to do the thing, because only by total decimation of their enemies can they win. Yeah. That isn't liberalism. No. In any interpretation of the term. Any interpretation.
You know, Douglas is so right about these leftists. They all want diversity. Every single one of them wants diversity. But when you give them diversity of thought, if you give them a diversity of a different opinion, diversity of a different thought, which is different than the mantra and the dogma that they're spewing and putting out there as their rhetoric, as their narrative, that's not the diversity that they want. Not at all. They want to shut everything down, not only for them, but for you. So what if somebody says, okay, that they don't want to do anything? Okay, that's perfectly fine. But then they don't want you to do that thing either. Or if someone is doing something, they want to shut that down. They want to prevent you from doing it. They don't want you to enjoy life. They don't want you to enjoy liberty. They don't want you to enjoy pursuit of happiness. They only want you to pursue the life that they want you to pursue. They only want to pursue the happiness that they think you have to pursue, their type of happiness, which is not happiness. Have you ever noticed that leftists are mad all the time, upset about anything and everything? Folks, that's not the way to live your life, but that's the way they want to live their life, and they want you to live that same life that they live. And that's just not going to happen. That's why we are continuing this struggle, this battle for the culture wars, because we want to decide what we want to do. We want to decide what we want to eat, how we sleep, what cars we drive, what foods we eat, what movies we see, what books we read. We want to do that for ourselves. And if there's something that I don't like, that's perfectly fine. I don't like it. I don't expect somebody else not to like it. I especially don't want to go ahead and dictate to them that they have to like it. For most things, yeah, absolutely. Anyways, let's continue with more of Douglas Murray, as I call them, his great Murrayisms.
Difference between now and the Cold War was there were still adults. There were still adults in the room, willing to stand up for traditions, willing to stand up for history, willing to say that actually we have virtues as a country and not just vices, virtues as a people, not just vices, things that we did well in our history, not just things we did ill. Today, look around the public square. All of the adults fled the scene. Every corporation in Britain, every government department, every publishing house, everybody sees the same thing. The people you describe as the sort of highly ideological students make all of the running, the shouting, the desecration of the past, and the adults give in. Effectively, what we are living through now in Britain and in the wider West is a cultural revolution. And it's a cultural revolution where the adults have been intimidated into either silence or going along with it.
They shout Allahu Akbar when they go in to rape and murder all these young women in a room. They're shouting Allahu Akbar the whole time, and they find a young woman hiding under a table, pretending to be dead, and they realize she's alive, and they begin killing her. They're shouting Allahu Akbar all the time, and they're so elated. And they phone home. One disgusting young Hamas guy shouts from the phone of one of his victims, his father in Gaza, saying, "I have killed with my own hands 10 Jews. Your son has killed 10 Jews." And the mother is put on the phone and they're all shouting Allahu Akbar and they're so proud of him. Indescribable. I really don't want to hear Allahu Akbar shouted again on my streets. It's a war cry. The Hamas terrorists are shouting Allahu Akbar all the way through, as they are using a shovel to decapitate a young man. With every blow of the shovel, they shout Allahu Akbar. When they go in to rape and murder all these young women in a room, they're shouting Allahu Akbar the whole time, and they find a young woman hiding under a table, pretending to be dead, and they realize she's alive, and they begin killing her. They're shouting Allahu Akbar all the time, and they're so elated. And they phone home. One disgusting young Hamas guy shouts from the phone of one of his victims, his father in Gaza, saying, "I have killed with my own hands 10 Jews. Your son has killed 10 Jews." And the mother is put on the phone and they're all shouting Allahu Akbar and they're so proud of him.
We appreciate you taking the time to watch the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host, Dr. Nasir. Go ahead and hit that subscription button. You all know what to do. Like, share, and follow us if you like our content. Share below what you thought. I'll leave you with my final thought as always, which is when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.